Good morning. I've got to turn my machine a little bit here. I have the morning sun there behind me. But let's get started. I want to talk about evaluations today. I'm here at the home page, so we'll go to Pathways, go to Base Camp. It'll take it a second to load. Busy on something else. I should have logged in. That would have saved a minute, but it's okay. If you haven't gone to Pathways yet, then this would be where you would go to choose your path. This is where you go to access your path. Now this will drop down. If you belong to more than one club, the two clubs will come here. And you need to remember that only the club that you have listed, like I have Pathways Guides, but only if I was in Winter Haven Toastmasters, they would be the only ones. If I belonged to a second club, they would not be able to access me as a member until I switch the accounts. So if you're in two different clubs, you're going to have to keep switching back and forth for your evaluators and members of that club to go ahead and give you feedback. So I'm going to stay in Pathways Guide. I'm just going to log in as a guide. And it's going to bring up the home page that not only the guides, but everyone else sees here. And we have our 5 panels or tiles here at the bottom. I'm going to go right to speech evaluations, since that's our topic. First thing I want to point out is this review the how to evaluate tutorial. This is excellent, and you can review it as many times as you want. It's always available. And on it, you'll see a young lady who's about to give her second or third speech, and she has asked her evaluator for some specific points of evaluation. So you are going to be watching vignettes of her entire speech, not the entire speech, but just parts of it, and asked to evaluate it. Then when you have come to your conclusions, you will see an experienced evaluator from Toastmasters, and they will also evaluate it. Now, we don't feel that your evaluation is going to be the same as hers, but it will give you some ideas of things that you might have missed or ways to state things that might have been better than the way you thought of doing it. So these are questions about Base Camp that you can answer from this page. But what I want to look at is this. These are your evaluation resources. And on this page, you will have the evaluation for every Pathways project. And this is every single one of them. They're all in alphabetical order. Of course, your Icebreaker is here. But I want to look at some of the other evaluations. Pathways has 4 projects. The first one is the Icebreaker. Well, it has 5, actually. The first one is your Icebreaker, and then you have these evaluation and feedback steps here to do. The first one, you just give a speech and receive that feedback. The second one, you incorporate the feedback you got on the first one and use it while doing the second speech. So one of the things that your evaluator is going to be looking for is if you use the evaluation. And when I did this second speech, I took my evaluation notes and gave them to the second evaluator and said, this is what you're supposed to be looking for in my evaluation. Then the third speech, it's kind of misleading to call it a speech, but it is an evaluation. It's a 2 to 3 minute speech, and in it you're supposed to take what you've learned about evaluations and feedback, and you're supposed to use it. So I'm going to open this up and go through it with you so that you have an idea. All of them come up here, and you're going to have to launch this. And now we're going to look at a couple of things here as it comes up. Here we go. This arrow here at the top of the form, you're probably familiar with PDFs, but this will download it. Now, if you want to do this live during the person's speech, let me tell you, you must download it, and when you download it, you must rename it. Because if you just download it and then decide to save it, it only saves the form. Anything on the evaluation page only saves the form. It does not save anything in the form. And as long as you still have the same name, as long as you don't have the same thing, That just threw me. As long as you don't have the same title, it will save it under the new title. But if you keep the form just the way it is, it will not save anything. Once you save it, then you can go ahead and upload it to your friend or to the person that you evaluated. You can't upload this to their site. That's something they have to do, and we'll talk about that. This is a fillable PDF, and these little blue bars that you might not see on your screen mean that it is fillable. You would put your name here, and I have an older machine. I don't know why it will not do this for me in most cases, at least not on this page. So I can't show you that. But you would put the name of the person speaking and name as the evaluator, and they would put their speech title here. So let's go through this. It says the purpose of this project is for the member to develop skills for delivering and receiving feedback. The purpose of this speech is for the member to deliver constructive feedback on another member's presentation. So this is an evaluation speech. It is recommended that the member evaluating this portion of the project be a proven exemplary evaluator. So you want a good evaluator evaluating this evaluation. There's a brain freeze for you. During the completion of the project, the member has presented a speech on a topic, has received feedback from an evaluator, and has incorporated, hopefully, in feedback into a second speech. Now, this tells you about this particular speech. It says the last portion of this assignment is for the member to serve as an evaluator at a club meeting. The member will deliver an engaging and constructive evaluation of another member's speech. He or she will also demonstrate proper meeting etiquette by being fully engaged during all speeches, and she may choose to take notes, or you can put it right in here. These three things will be what you form your oral evaluation from. You excel that, and I don't think this is going to let me do it here. When we get to the next page, I might be able to type in. Like I said, my machine is old, and I have no idea why it's not allowing me on this page. It says here you may want to work on, if it's a first evaluation, perhaps this person is a little bashful, their voice is too low, or they're looking down too much, or they're not looking at the person. They might, be trying to figure out how to phrase something. They might be struggling with different things. So things that you may want to work on, and then ways that you can challenge yourself. You can challenge yourself to look up more. You can challenge yourself to have a higher voice level so that you're easily heard. Now, in this, I want you to remember that what you really need to do is be a level 3. 3 is accomplished. 3 means you've met your goal. You've done what you needed to do. You've given a good evaluation to the person that spoke. Now, if you give the person a 2, make sure that you always explain these numbers. If they were not particularly clear, then explain to them why. You mumbled. You used words that we didn't particularly understand. I don't know what, maybe the whole thing, you'd give them a 1 for being mumbly or for speaking too low. And this is in the clarity section. But 3 means they've done it. 4 means they've done it really well. 5 means their speech was just impeccable. They did a great job on it. And so you can have a 5 now and then, but 5 indicates that you don't need to work. And I think everybody in Toastmasters knows that they haven't gotten a 5 every time on every project. So don't just do that because you don't know what to do or you don't know how to grade it. Try and look through the rubric, the next page, which tells you how to deliver or how to decide everything that you're going to be doing. And use that, and don't just give them 5s all the way through. You can give them 4s. Maybe, let's go through this. Maybe their eye contact, being they were new, they need more eye contact. You need to look at your speaker during your eval. And you could put that in there. Maybe their gestures were, you may want to put something like playing with your hair too much. Playing with your hair was a bit distracting. Okay. So people who are always, like playing with your hair and stuff, it can be a really distracting feature, or maybe playing with a pen that you brought up. So you need to tell them always why they didn't get a satisfactory or an accomplished on any particular thing. Maybe they were aware of the audience. Perhaps their comfort level was uncomfortable and you noticed it. So you would tell them to challenge themselves to be a little more comfortable when they're at the podium. The audience, engage the audience with interesting and well-constructed comment. You might give them a 5 or a 4 on that. They may have had excellent insight into what the speaker could have done to help, and just give them comment on that. Say they had very good insights. So that way they know why they got a higher score. Delivered tactful, constructive feedback. Maybe they did it well, maybe they did it very well. Maybe they needed to work on being a little more positive. And the last one, we'll look at these down here. Look at this delivery. Delivers exemplary feedback and is tactful and constructive. That would be a 5. Delivers excellent feedback that is tactful and constructive. So it's a little bit less. It's not perfect. It's not exemplary, but it is very good. To be accomplished, you would deliver tactful, constructive feedback. And that's all that is required to pass this particular level. Delivers feedback that is tactful but could be more constructive or helpful to the speaker. So if you gave them a 2, you could say you were tactful, but some of your points were not clear enough, they weren't constructive, or perhaps what you said was right, but it might not have been tactful. And if they're not tactful, then you would give them a number 1. Delivers feedback that lacks tact and is not constructive, but it could be one or the other there. So you have to kind of decide 1 or 2. How untactful was it, or how disoriented was their speech? And always remember to tell them why they have received the numbers you gave them. And most good speakers want that information. They want to know, what did I do? How can I improve? What did I do well? So this is a very important section. Then once you're done, after it's on your device and you've saved it, then when you close it, it's going to ask you to save the changes that you've made. Do that, and then email it to the speaker, and it will be their priority or their prerogative to upload it to their docs file. And if they want to put a portion of it, like your comments, out for the general population, the other members of the club, that's up to them to do. But some are a little sensitive, especially when they get 2s and 1s on this, so we don't want to make this public ever. Let's close out of this, and I'm going to go to one of the higher level evaluations. Let me go back 1. Let me go back 2. There we go. And we're back on this. I'm going to pick one of these, and I'm going to pick this one, Improvement Through Positive Coaching. And we're going to look at this. Of course, it always comes up to the launch button. And this will come up. But you may not be in a path that talks about coaching. And so when you get somebody that says, please evaluate my coaching speech, you may be thinking, I don't know how. I don't know that much. Well, that's why this page is very important for you, and we're going to look at it a little bit. The purpose statement tells you why you're doing this. The purpose of this project is for the member to develop and apply skills for coaching a fellow member or a person outside of Toastmasters who can benefit from his or her expertise. And the purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience while coaching. So the speech is not about what they learned in coaching. It's about what they use and how they use what they learned. So that's an important thing for the evaluator to know. Notes to the evaluator. The member completing the project has spent time coaching a Toastmaster or other person who benefited from his or her expertise. Again, it could be somebody outside of Toastmasters. You could be maybe a nurse or a ham radio operator, or you could be skilled at some other aspect of Toastmasters, and you are coaching this person. But the point of this is that you are actually speaking about how you coach this person and how it helped them. You're not talking about the content of this coaching. And the interesting part is that you can be coaching somebody who benefited. They do not have to be a Toastmaster, because we're doing this not to be in the Toastmasters world, but we're doing this to reach out into our business world and our world of friends and acquaintances, and to help them also. So as I said, you could help them in a field that was not Toastmaster related. So let's listen for what you're going to be listening for: a well-organized speech, of course, about the member's expertise as a coach. And the speech may be humorous, informational, or any style of their choosing. Now, occasionally you're going to have you're going to be listening for an informational speech or a humorous speech. But this speech, the topic is not at question, or the type of speech is not a question. It can be anything that the person wants it to be. The style of the speech should support the content of the speech, and the speech is not a report on the content of improvement through positive coaching, but a reflection of the impact of the experience. So you could tell them what you excelled at, or what they excelled at. You could tell them, I would like you to work on maybe developing your strategies a little more, or maybe developing your ability to explain a certain point a little more, or challenge yourself to think ahead and maybe perhaps do things a little bit differently, that you could be better at coaching if you took this approach. So things that they could challenge them. And again, your oral evaluation, if you give it, since this is an evaluation of an evaluation, may be something that you would do from here, and it may just be something that you write and send to the other person. Again, accomplished is 3. Were they clear? Did they have good eye contact? Were they aware of the audience? Were they losing them? Were they talking about something different that the audience couldn't follow? I mean, I know when I talk about ham radio, I can lose the entire audience. You have to be really careful about things like that when you're in this section. Were they aware of the audience? Were they comfortable? Was what they said interesting? Did they engage the audience? And did they have well-constructed feedback? And then when they shared this particular story about how coaching helped, how did they do with it? Was it clear? Was it exciting? Was it funny? Was it interesting? So you're going to rate them on that. And again, always leave them a comment. I'm going to go down here and look at the topic section. When you talk about the topic, it says, let's start at the top, that they delivered an exemplary speech about an experience coaching another member. Or they delivered a compelling speech about their experience. So exemplary, it was perfect. Compelling, it was very good. What they said gave you some good ideas that you thought that was great. I can pick up some tips from them. This was really a nifty speech, and I enjoyed it, and it helped me. Or they simply accomplished their goal of mentioning the coaching experience, but they didn't fully address everything. And then, no, wait, yeah, that would be a 2, when they didn't completely address what they had done to use what they had learned in this program, and then did not speak about his or her personal experience with coaching, because that was the point of this speech. So you would give them a 1 if they did not use that. So again, the evals are very important. A good speaker will want to know, in fact, any speaker is going to want to know how these things, what you saw. Always give them a reason for what you saw, and give them some ways that they can improve themselves. That's always our goal as evaluators. So let's stop here and go to another section. If this wasn't everything you wanted, if you wanted feedback from the entire group, then you have this from your appointed evaluator. But let's go to the home page and look at the tile that says My Feedback. When we go here, you can ask for feedback from anyone in the group. Perhaps there's somebody that you know is really a good evaluator, and you want their insight into your speech. And you might say, well, I would like your feedback. And let's say on my vocal variety. Could I have done better with my vocal variety? And we'll put that here. And then you may have a particular person in mind. And you may say, I want John Smith to do this. So here this brings out everybody with the word John in it. You can have, maybe you like John Vargo is who you are looking for, but when you did it, when we had the drop-down menu, you could actually find everybody that had John in their name, like Johnson is listed several times. Or perhaps you have a friend, Edward, and he's very good. So here you have 3 Edwards. But I'm going to go over here and say perhaps you just want to tag a few people. And you can actually search all the members of the club when you're in your club. But let's search users named Edward, because I want to show you how this works. And I know that there happen to be 3 Edwards here, so we're going to search on the name of Edward. And we're going to get this screen. Now notice this. I have 3 Edwards, Edward Moore, Edward Taylor, and Wendy Edwards Wilson. So all of these are coming up. Now watch, now you have a selected user group because I've already selected John. And when I select this Edward Moore, I want you to notice what's happening here. His name appears up here as a selected user. And down here it's still available, but it says not available because he's already been selected. And if you wanted Wendy to go to evaluate you also, then you could click on her and her name will move up into the selected section. So that's how this part works. When you have picked everyone you want, you say done. Now we come down here because who would you like to see the responses to whom you requested? You can have just the managers, which would be your Basecamp manager, and they can be the only ones that you want to see this. Now, if you want everyone to see it, if you felt you've done a good job and you're going to get some good feedback, then you can go ahead and you can say, I want everyone to see the feedback that I am going to get. So everyone will see the responses that these 3 people added to your speech. And then if you scroll down further, we have here, please send feedback on my last request, especially on my eye contact. So you can share what you thought with these people. And this is a request that's going, my picture is here, and when it goes to the person that requested it, my feedback will be here along with my name and my photo. So this is how you get extra evaluations, extra feedback on any particular speech that you give. So I want to thank you for your time today, and I am going to say you have a great day. Let me see if I can find where to stop the meeting.